Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about dating. Yay! This is such a fun topic for me to talk about for a number of reasons. I feel like maybe this will be the video where I'm a bit more entertaining instead of just talking around a topic, but I am going to talk around dating today, so that is today's video. As a side note, today I'm wearing my, hang on, let me get in, there we go, I'm wearing my Charlie McKeesy Red Nose Day partnership t-shirt with TK Maxx, and I thought like I had to share that with you guys because it's an awesome t-shirt, and obviously it does go to Comic Relief and you can buy it through TK Maxx. I am not sponsored by TK Maxx or Charlie McKeesy, I just love his illustrations, I love his book. That's why I'm wearing this top today. Let's talk about dating. Now, the reason why this is quite a funny topic for me is because I am not someone who dates. It just doesn't align with me. I wouldn't just say that I date, but I do have quite a bit of experience of dating, and I have many friends who are currently dating. So I just figured that it would be a good chance to talk about dating. And I posted a photo on my Instagram where I talked about my plans to do this video and asked for some people's perspectives around dating, and I had a few messages on that which was really interesting to read. So basically I was in a relationship for like 13 years of my life, from my late teens until 30. So I missed the kind of 20s where a lot of people my age were dating. That was when I was married and having my children. So I like missed dating completely. And then when I separated, and obviously later we got divorced, but when I separated, I had no idea how you even meet people these days, like how does that even work? And when I was sort of late teens, people used to meet in bars, or people worked together and met that way, or people were like set up on blind dates. I mean, there was like speed dating, but back then that wasn't cool. So the dating scene, for want of like a better term, has kind of changed massively. And now most people, I would say, are aware of, if not using, dating apps and stuff if they're single. So, I mean, there's like an army of different dating apps that will market you in different ways. And it's weird because, again, back when I was a sort of late teen, there was like dating profiles, you know, like there was like matchmaker profiles online and you could do it that way. I think some people still do that, and there are dating sites that you can like pay for to get a profile and stuff, and with those dating sites it does seem like obviously people are a bit more committed, they know what they're looking for, they're kind of wanting to find something specifically, whereas the free dating apps people tend to use for a load of different reasons. So let's talk about that. So I think sometimes people can think that everybody wants the same thing, and especially in childhood and stuff, obviously we're all told fairy tales that people, you know, meet. Usually it's aimed at heterosexual people who meet and get married and live happily ever after in a castle somewhere. Like, it's kind of, this is what life you will want, and it's very pushed that like being in a couple is the goal, and that's something that is kind of pushed through society. In our culture, in, you know, British culture, you actually, if you're married, you get like benefits because you get like tax allowances for married couples. You're also, if you put down your status as married on various forms and things, you might get a better insurance deal. Also things like mortgage affordability, you're more likely to afford a mortgage if you're in a couple and not necessarily married, but if you're in a couple. So there are like certain almost like benefits that come when you are in either a long-term relationship or when you are married. And it is also something that we're kind of led to think is like the right thing that you should be doing, is to get into a relationship and be in a couple. Because of that, most people can think that everybody who approaches the dating app is looking for the same thing. They are looking to date, meet someone, be in a relationship, be with that person long term. Now, that's not the case. That's just not how things are. And people aren't like that. There are lots of different people who approach dating wanting lots of different things. You know, some people are looking for something casual, some people are looking for marriage. There's like a full spectrum of things that people are looking for. Some people are monogamous, some people are polyamorous. There is just a whole range of people looking for different things. And I think that if you don't communicate where you are and what you're looking for, then sometimes what can happen is there can be problems where the other person assumes where you are, or you can assume where another person is without the communication around that. It does feel, and a few people have agreed with me, it does feel like, especially in terms of like dating apps, there's like a routine and there's like rules and how it goes. They are very superficial because obviously it's pictures of people usually, there's not a huge amount of text. That varies. There are some dating apps that are more text heavy and will talk a bit more about who you are and they'll prompt you into talking about your personality a bit more. There are other apps that are literally just photos and just swipe away, you know? So there's varying levels of how you choose who you want to date. It's also worth bearing in mind that it is not the norm for people to have instantaneous attraction to people. We are told that that's the norm, but actually there's a whole range of how people are attracted to people too. So some people may not be attracted to somebody by looks, it may purely be personality. Some people want people who are funny. Some people are looking for people who are caring and kind, and that's a really attractive trait. Some people put off instantly when they find out something about someone. Some people have like a very physical type that they're into that, you know, is very physically based and that's how they are. Some people do not feel attracted to people whatsoever. Some people are attracted to intelligence. Some people are attracted to, you know, when they trust someone. For some people it's about the connection with someone. Like there is a full range of where people get attracted to people. So there's limitations around dating apps that are kind of photos and a bit of text about someone. And largely I would say that most people tend to want to get to know someone unless they are specifically looking for something casual, in which case, you know, it probably is more about physical attraction, and there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever as long as they communicate where they are, in my opinion. What can sometimes feel like, if you're specifically looking for a relationship from a dating app, is that you match with someone, you kind of chat a bit, then you meet, and then it's kind of almost like, it's like an unwritten timeline and unwritten rules. So it's things like, you know, don't come on too strong, like you need to, if you like someone, you need to ignore them, which I find hilarious. You know, there's the ghosting thing, there's like so many different names for things now and ways of being. Date 3 is usually like, we know what should or could happen at date 3. If it's not date 3, it's definitely date 5. You know, it feels like there's a timeline that you have to adhere to. And that's something that, like, when I put this question out on Instagram, so many people were like, yeah, there's like the rules of how this has to go. It's like a psychological game when you date. From my perspective, and what I wanted to cover in this video is that game doesn't exist. And you can often feel like when you meet someone, you have to kind of put your best foot forward, not kind of be who you really are, and not, you know, it's all a bit uncomfortable until you get to know each other a bit more. And I think part of that is just how you interact with new people in your life anyway. You know, if you are someone who is a bit more reserved when you meet new people anyway, you're not going to be as comfortable and you are going to feel that way. And I think people do want to make a good impression. There's a difference between wanting to make a good impression and feeling like this is the way that this has to go. And for somebody or anybody who has any kind of trauma or mental health stuff going on, which I argue that every single person has trauma in life, it's just whether you're aware of it or not. Now, if somebody has those stuff going on, sometimes they can either be very rigidly stuck to this is the way that it should go, and if it doesn't go that way, that's odd, or they can be the opposite and feel pressured that it needs to go a certain way, and if it isn't, then there's something wrong with them. So it can be really difficult to navigate dating. And I think from a trauma-informed perspective, you can be put off even trying. From my personal experience, I have spent quite a bit of time dating. I haven't met anyone that I've had like a long-term connection relationship with from that. I'm someone who I tend to want to get to know people. I don't tend to want to get to know people with a view to it being XYZ. I just tend to want to get to know people and to see what that connection feels like and where it's going. And that may be that I get a great friendship from it. It may be that that is a romantic interest. I don't really go in with like a specific thing in mind that I want from something. Ideally, at some point, I would like to get back into a relationship, but it's not something that I kind of push for with every new person that I meet. There are some people who, because they specifically are looking for something, it not being on that level means that they don't have time for that person in their life. So it could be like, you know, I really like you, but I would want that as a relationship. This is not going to be a relationship, but I wish you all the best. That's absolutely fine. You know, if that's where you sit, great. But what I've realized is, for me, the way to manage and approach dating and stuff is to absolutely communicate where I am. And I don't really care about what the rules say should happen, or, you know, how things should go, or what other people do. I tend to think about what feels right for me, and I do that, and I communicate that. So what I have heard as well, again, from my Instagram post, I had a lot of messages of people saying, do you know what, it doesn't work for me, I don't even date. And what I would say to that is, you don't have to. You know, if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. You know, you either make it work for you, or you don't work with that system. And in those instances, those people were specifically talking about like dating apps and stuff. And I do think that, I guess my spiritual side comes in a bit, because I just think, well, you know, if you are doing what you know you should be doing in life anyway, you know, if everything else is aligning, relationships and dating is one aspect of that. And the right people will come into your life at the right time for your needs anyway. And if that's, you know, that you find them through a dating app, or if that's you find them in a bar, or if that's, you know, someone who's a friend turns into more, or however that looks, you know, like it'll be how it's meant to be. Psychologically, anything that feels like there are conditions and how you should be, and the word should coming in, you know, I should message this person, I should wait 2 days, I should be doing this on this date, or whatever those shoulds come in. That, for me, as a mental health professional, is like red flag, because shoulds are not what's actually going on. And if you don't feel that way, or if you don't want that, or if that doesn't feel right to you, you shouldn't be doing it. And I'm fully aware I just said shouldn't. When the shoulds come in is when the conditioning comes in. And if you are able to separate out what you want, what you need, and communicate that with the other person, that's going to be better for you mental health wise. That's going to be a better experience for you. And if that person cannot respect you doing that, then automatically you know that person's not for you. And the other thing I would say is, lots of people have said to me, oh, I haven't had much success with dating, I find it really difficult, I don't meet the right people. And actually what I would say is, even the things that often feel like failures are actually successes, because you are working out what you don't want. You know, you are having experiences that you know don't align with you afterwards, and you kind of go, well, that didn't work and I don't want to experience that again. So next time, how can I approach that differently? Even when you find things that you don't want and you feel like things haven't gone to plan, actually, it's just a different plan. It's just growth. But ultimately, your worth is not defined by your relationship status. Oh my God, I will say that so many times. There is so much pressure to be in a relationship. And as a single person, and I've been single for quite a long time, all I would say is, your worth is not defined by your relationship status. You can choose to be single, and that's okay. You can choose to just have casual relationships if that's what you want, and that's okay. Like, what's important is your mental health, your well-being, what's going on for you, your life. And yes, if you meet someone else and that changes where you sit with that, that changes your focus because of somebody else, because of their influence, that's great. It changes who you are when you're in a relationship, when you're with someone. But ultimately, there's no need, if it doesn't align with you, you don't need to feel like there is a deficit in you because you're not with somebody else. Like, you are whole exactly as you are without somebody else needing to come along and complete you. What I would say is that dating can feel really, really daunting, especially if you are just out of a relationship, if you've had a relationship that was perhaps not the healthiest. It can feel overwhelming. And what I would say is, just do what works for you. And even if everybody else thinks that you're ridiculous, and even if everyone else is saying that you should do something differently, and even if you feel like society is pressurizing you to do differently, sit with yourself and do what works for you, whether that is dating, whether that's not dating, whether that's, like I said, looking for something casual or looking for marriage, you know, whatever. Do what works for you. So that's my very rambly take on dating. I hope that's been helpful. I enjoyed making this video, even if it was a bit rambly. I'd love to hear your experiences on dating and stuff. If you'd like to, then you can drop me messages or comment down below. That'd be awesome. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Oh, I forgot to say, if you want to subscribe to my channel, that's great, but there's no pressure. I forgot that bit. But yeah,